I have at least once before shared the story of my earliest memory, where I was about 2 years old. And two is a fairly early age to have your earliest. It's usually three, 3.5, 4. But 2 is traumatic enough for me that it happened to be that early. I was talking with my father in the kitchen one day in our old house all the way back in Pennsylvania, and the subject of God came up, and I asked my father out of the blue, "How does God know where to bring you back?" My father contemplated this, knowing full well that he told me that Santa Claus was real, that the tooth fairies feel real, the Easter Bunny. I mean, I got the whole American gambit, like most kids. But this matter, he couldn't bring himself to give me a happy ending kind of situation. So he told me uh, what I think any rational, well-intentioned father would have said is that, well, you don't come back. It's done. It's over. You're gone. And this struck me as very odd that it's just this termination. It's just this cessation of all ness. And then I asked myself, well, then I'm not going to die, am I? And it was the answer to that that then had me reeling into the living room. You could see my little 2-year-old self throwing myself upon the floor, curling into fetal position, and crying for the rest of the day. And the experience was so, I don't know, ideologically traumatic. So what's the E word? The E word, not epistemological, it's that other one that I can never think of. Existential. Aha, I found it. It's such an existential moment. It's a dramatically existential moment that it's really been seared into my flesh and soul ever since. And the contemplation of my own mortality has been really reawakened a few times. I had a very near death experience in a car accident a few years ago where I was upset driving fast down a country road, a canyon road. Actually started to rain. I lost control and rolled the car. The airbags deployed. Windows were smashed out. I was the only one on the road. No one else saw it happen. No one else was in the car. I called the ambulance and people, or called the 911. I'm like, no, I'm fine. I walked out. I'm fine. I walked out of it. But, and the car landed on its 4 tires. But anyway, the whole thing, I mean, other little things like that where you're reminded of your own mortality. And there's this really deep sense of frustration that I get from that because you realize that there's a good chance you will not live the life of the big people, the George Lucases, or the Bill Gateses, or the whatever else, the Steven Spielbergs, whatever else, the J.K. Rowlings, the people who are larger than life, whom we all know about. There's so many of us. The chances, just the raw chances of living a life like that are really slim to none. But at the same time, in deep contemplation of one's mortality, there's a real yearning for something extraordinary in life. That you know that you have just the same tools that they did to begin with. And all they did that you're not doing is following your passion with a sense of do or die. And not doing that is frustrating. I remember I make a habit here on YouTube of contemplating my next move or doing something like that. And people tell me all kinds of suggestions. And they're all beautiful suggestions, all the way from going to New York City to be a writer, which a friend of mine has been trying to make me do, to folks here on YouTube trying to get me over to California, to San Francisco, and to just be part of the soul and the spirit of the social revolution and change and all that, kind of the bohemia of the modern world, to other people on YouTube wanting me to go down to Brazil, somewhere, and drink ayahuasca and trip out on that and experience all sorts of craziness in my own mind. And they're all amazing ideas. They really are. And it's a shame that it really hasn't happened. Going to Japan, for example, with not knowing the language, not really knowing anyone over there, not knowing what I was getting into, was a similar situation. I just feel that you could. I just felt like, I don't know. I had a free pass. I was young enough that actually the friend of mine who wanted me to go to New York and just put all of my money into the move in New York and just do it and be a writer and then be successful, in that order, said that before you're 25, you can't make any mistakes. I disagree. If you're a woman and you get pregnant at 18, I think that's kind of a mistake. But barring those kinds of things, doing something with your life, going out there, trying to be a movie actor, trying to be this or that, or run your own business, or be a stock tycoon, or, to be an astronaut. I don't know, whatever. You really can't go wrong within those first few years. And then afterwards, what does that imply, I guess? Because now I'm past that. I'm 26. I'm going to be 27 here in the next month. 27. Eh. Eh. And the reality is you don't know when the end is going to be the end. And it's not so much that I fear what happens after the end. I fear the contemplation right before the end. I think that hell could be encapsulated within that moment, and I think that would make it worthy of all the drama that it's received throughout the years. Dante's Inferno and Christianity on a whole, and this whole sort of boom 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 kind of death and dying and cruelty and evil, brimstone and fire kind of depiction could very well be just a dramatization of that last moment, where you're sitting there, you're fading away, you realize that your senses are either one going to just click out completely and you'll be totally just, there'll just be nothing, and you won't be able to even perceive the nothing. It'll just cease to be, kind of the atheist approach. Or whatever that happens to be churning in your physical brain will escape your physical brain and not have the physical brain anymore as a point of reference. And so whatever you're perceiving, if you still have the capacity to do so, will be so out of touch with anything that you have any memory of, or even if there is memory, that'll be an unrecognizable situation. And in effect, really, it's kind of the same thing, where as far as at least relating the afterlife to this life, both have a complete disconnect from this life. The brain dies. Sensation dies, which means either you die in your entirety, or whatever survives has no point of reference or no sense of perspective similar or familiarity with what you perceive as yourself right now. And that's really frustrating. It's frustrating not to know when it's going to end, and it's frustrating not being able to experience it all and to see it all, and to live it all, really. It's not just a matter of passively experiencing it, going to class and majoring in 50 million different things. It's about having that experience. It's about, what have you ever wanted to be? Just list them down one day. It'll drive you crazy because you'll find out that you haven't been enough of them, probably. I know one of the reasons I trade jobs so much is because I cannot stick with one thing long enough. Not because I fear commitment. It's because I fear not being able to get the most out of life that I need to. That if you get into a job and it becomes routine and mundane, it needs to end. Go on. It just needs to end. It needs to go away. And something new and bright and fresh and vivacious and challenging needs to happen. And that's really hard to accommodate. That lifestyle is really hard to accommodate today in our modern life. Work sucks. Ooh, I hate, oh God. And statistically, half of you agree with me. More than half of you agree with me. And the fuckers out there that like your job, half of you, I'm willing to guess, are just saying that just to make yourself feel better about yourself. Very few people, I think, really enjoy their job, really wake up every day and say, wow, my job not only provides for me, but it provides for my soul as well, my heart. Tough shit to find, especially in the modern day. I'm working for a call center right now, and it's your contemporary factory work job without actually being a factory. There are factory work jobs, and I'm not belittling those. They're hard shit too. But being on a call center and I take between 60 and 100 calls a day, getting a decent benefits package, getting a almost decent wage, almost livable. It makes me enough to live on my own, so that accounts for that. That counts for something. But call center job, oi. And I've talked to now thousands of people, thousands of different people, and it just boggles my mind. Some conversations were seconds long, some were hours long, but thousands of people. And one, my my opinion of the world is somewhat less. At least the opinion of other people is somewhat less because of the job. I have less hope in humanity now. But it's too mundane. It's too mundane, too mundane. And what I really want to do is just go nuts and throw all my money into something and move and do something big and great and sexy and adventurous. But want it to be such that if it doesn't work all out in the end, then I don't know, that I die. So I don't have to deal with the bullshit or the consequences of making a very spontaneous decision and life changing and high risk change. That if it works, then great. But if it doesn't, I have to go down in a ball of flames, so I don't have to deal with the bullshit afterwards. And that's kind of a scary place to be in. It's petrifying. It really doesn't help. So, if you feel that way, you're not alone. If you want to connect, shoot me an email, send me a text. But what do you do? What do you do? Do you? I almost wish we all did it. I almost wish that we all just took our crap jobs and our crap life and our crap relationships and just say, look, no more. And to throw it onto the ground and walk away from it and approach something that is really your bliss. And do that for, and if everyone just stopped and followed their bliss and did what was really satisfying to them, the problems that would crop up in life would be there and real. And I mean, it wouldn't become a utopia, but at least we would be able to solve those problems from a position of strength and happiness. And our interest is not in self-preservation, but in preservation of this higher lifestyle that we've already achieved for ourselves.